Welcome to this screencast. We're looking at using loops to score the higher marks, and this is for GCSE Computer Science. I am using June 2022 questions from OCR. The second coding questions. In a previous screencast, we've done the basic skill of using input, print, and then storing a value into a variable. In this screencast, I'm doing the loop. Here, the code knows in advance how many times it will have to repeat, because we're using this variable there that we've already asked the user how many times they want to enter a number. So this will be a for loop. So that means that here I can start my for loop for I in range, and my range will be between 0 and will stop at this variable that I've already created in a previous screencast. Here I need to ask the user a number, similar to what happened up here, and want to simplify this code with a loop. So I'm simply going to say number equals input, and I repeat the same message given to us earlier in the exam paper, enter a number. And in a similar way to what we've done here in the very first coding questions earlier in the paper, I'm going to then increment my total. So total is the old total plus that new number. For this to work, I also need to initialize the total before going into the loop. I'm going here to add a line. Total, I'm initializing it at 0. So the first time this happens, it will be 0 plus the first number, and then the second time it will be first number plus second number, and so on. So at the end of this loop, this total has got the correct value, which we will print, and then when we divide this value by the number of inputs, we get an average, which we also need to output. We did that in a previous screencast. The next few questions, there is no loops in these, so I will complete these questions about function parameters in another screencast. And here is our last coding question that needed an if-else, which I did in a previous screencast. Now we need to add the while loop. Repeat continually until the user enters 0 hours. So my stopping condition for the while will be as long as the hours are more than 0. So number hours, I've got it here, this variable there. As long as this number hours is strictly more than 0, this loop will happen. But the first time Python reaches this line, we do not know what is stored inside the variable number hour. So I need to initialize number hour with a quantity, and that quantity, it doesn't matter what it is, because it's going to be overwritten by the content or by the code inside the loop, as long as we go in the loop. So I need to give it a value that will trigger the first iteration of this loop. So if I say 1, then we will get this number hours, this loop going, and then we ask the user real hour, and this will carry on until they type 0. The rest of the code does not need to change in this question. This is all what's needed to score the marks for using iteration in this question. Thank you for listening to this screencast. I look forward to reading your coding answers in the mock paper.